Now, I've certainly been blessed with a lot of success in my life, and I enjoy passing along information that can help you guys out, practical information that really helps you out in different areas of your life. But one area that I don't give advice in is financial areas. I am not a financial advisor, but money, of course, is so important to all of us. I'm a new father, so money, if you can understand, is important to me. I know money is very important in your life. It's not the most important thing in your life, but it's extremely important to be able to live the type of life that you want. And something I've been fascinated by lately is all these people that are making good money. Some of them you would say are rich in the top 1%. Other people, they're middle class, but they're still making good money for what they do. And there's a saying that goes that says that in order to get money, you have to provide value. And while certainly that's true, maybe even the majority of the time, we all know there's a lot of instances of people that don't provide any value whatsoever in various walks of life, but yet they're making good money. Some of these people are even really rich people. And when you think about it, one of those areas where that's most obvious, where people are not providing any value but making good money, is working in government. And think about this. Anytime there's a government shutdown, they say we're temporarily suspending work for all the non-essential government employees. Well, why do they have all these workers that are not essential? They're not doing essential work, but they're on payroll. Is this some sort of welfare program that the government's providing? And when you think about it, government employees, anytime you go to a government office, they're typically very rude because they don't have to be nice. They have a lot of benefits, a lot of job security, and generally it's very hard to get fired from these jobs. And when you go even further up the line is politicians. And politicians, they really rake in the money. And I came across this politician named Joe Walsh, not to be confused with the guy, the musician that was in the Eagles. This is a very different guy. This is a conservative. He was a former politician, a former congressman, and I believe he hosts a political talk radio show. I don't think he's very influential, thank God. But let's take a look at what this guy has to say about the current shootings that happened over the weekend. Okay, here's his Twitter. He said, "When I was in Congress 8 years ago, our biggest domestic terror threat was Muslim American men radicalized by Islamization. Today, our biggest domestic terror threat is white American men radicalized by white supremacy. Conservatives must be honest enough to acknowledge this." He also tweeted out recently, "The problem isn't that almost 24 hours later, Trump still hasn't condemned white supremacy," whatever the heck that means. "The problem is that Trump can't condemn white supremacy because he lacks all credibility on the subject." Now, if you don't know anything about this guy, Joel Walsh, that's condemning so-called white supremacy, which, first of all, what does that mean? Well, I got bad news for you, Joel Walsh. In today's day and age, anything can be called white supremacy. They can label you a Nazi, whatever they want. That's just a slander against you to shut down your arguments. And if you give a certain opinion, they can just label you that. Maybe you're pro-Second Amendment like this guy claims to be. Certainly, if you're pro-First Amendment, if you want freedom of speech, they're going to call you a white supremacist. And now they're even calling anti-abortion people that are fighting against abortion for people of all races, all colors. They're calling those people white supremacists. And when you think about it, in the Constitution, we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, freedom to bear arms, but now they have an amendment that says it's okay to kill your unborn babies. And really, isn't the most important right that we should all have is the right to be born before you can have the right to free speech, before you can have the right to bear arms? But Joe Walsh, what kind of guy is this guy? Well, this is a man that went on Showtime. He was very cheap to buy off. This is scary. It shows how easy it is to buy off a politician. It's not as expensive as you might think. Just because they gave this guy a free plane ticket, a free hotel room, and then they gave him a cheap award that they said this is for Friends of Israel. It was a totally made-up thing. This was on a Showtime show hosted by Sacha Baron Cohen, the guy that played Borat. And what did this guy advocate? Well, you want to know what he advocated? He advocated giving guns to 4-year-olds in Israel. And I know a lot of pro-Second Amendment people. None of them think it's a good idea to give guns to 4-year-olds. But apparently if you're a Jewish supremacist or a Jewish nationalist, then it's okay. Let's take a look at what this guy says so you don't think I'm making this up.
Case of it. Our founding fathers did not put an age limit on
this isn't him yet.
The intensive 3-week kindergarten course introduces specially selected children from 12 to 4 years old.
4 years old?
To pistols, rifles, semi-automatics, and a rudimentary knowledge of mortars. In less than a month, a first grader can become a first grenader.
I told you I wasn't making that up. Let's take a look at it one more time.
An age limit on the Second Amendment.
The intensive 3-week kindergarten course introduces specially selected children from 12 to 4 years old to pistols, rifles, semi-automatics, and a rudimentary knowledge of mortars. In less than a month, a first grader can become a first grenader.
So here he is advocating arming first graders, kindergartners, kids as young as age 4, but he wants to condemn so-called white supremacists, which has no definition. That's just people that's going to have unpopular ideas. You know who else would be considered a white supremacist that this guy wants to condemn? If you look at the founding fathers, how they had their laws to get citizenship. Now, you didn't have to be, you could come to the United States without being white, but you couldn't get full citizenship. For over 100 years anyways, it said any alien being a free white person. So I guess that means that they were, since that's how they had it worded. Now, I'm not against people of any race, and that's not the point of this video. Let me get this back here for you. But the point is that I'm amazed that a useful idiot like this, and he's not unique to Congress, to the Senate, to any life in politics, how these people, not only do they not provide any value, but they actually hurt things. And this is a guy that's not very forward-thinking because he doesn't care. I'm a father, and if you have children, or if you're going to have children, certainly you are concerned about the future because we want to leave a good world. But this guy, he doesn't care about the future of the world. He doesn't care about even the future of his political party because he knows, too, things are going more liberal. And he just doesn't care. He's just going to pander, and he's going to hit those conservative talking points while also tweeting things like this. So is what we're headed towards, too, since this term white supremacy or white nationalist, it has such a vague term. Even Morrissey, who's spoken out that he's against, that he wants to keep England for the English, liberal Morrissey, the rock and roll singer, they're labeling him a Nazi and a white supremacist these days. If Morrissey is a white supremacist, as liberal of a guy as he is, what chance is there for any average, normal, conservative American? So we have Joel Walsh, who is an open advocate for Jewish nationalism, but anything that's white nationalism, he condemns. And it just shows how easy it is to buy off this guy. This guy, he made probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in his term serving in the Congress. But then he's so cheap to buy off just for a free plane ticket and a free hotel and some $25 made-up plaque, the Friends of Israel. He'll sell out for that. It's hilarious to think about, but it's also sad at the same time. But this is my point to this video, is just to show you what an example of how you don't necessarily have to provide value, because certainly this guy doesn't provide any value. And is what he's really doing, and I'm not sharing this information with you guys because I want to separate people. I'm not trying to divide the races or anything like that. I'm not trying to upset you because that's not going to help you in your life. So don't get angry about this. But there's these people in this world, certainly, they get in with the right people, or they just say the right things, even though they have no integrity like Joel Walsh. They have no honor like Joel Walsh. They have no real belief system other than they're going to do what's good for them personally. And you can't get sucked into this game of politics, left versus right, because essentially they're the same thing. Why will conservatives always lose, especially in the future? Well, number one is as the changing of the demographics, and they know that. That's why the Republican Party's getting so liberal. But Joel Walsh and all these current Republicans and conservatives like that, they're always going to lose, because this is another lesson for you in your life. Look at how they're framing things. They're accepting the frame and the narrative that their opponents are out, and they're trying to work within their enemy's frame, their opponent's frame. And you can't work within your opponent's frame. You're never going to be a winner when you try and accept things and work within that frame. Just like all these Republicans and these conservatives these days, they try and make the argument, well, Democrats are the real racists. That is so stupid, and no one believes that's the case, especially with the way things are in modern times, the way they have these parties set up. But don't get sucked into this left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, because that's how guys like Joel Walsh, they can still be employed hosting a radio program if he still has it, just being a useful idiot, hitting those talking points that most people will agree with. And then he's going to ultimately try and take things to a crazy way where it's like that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report. And we're going to start having thought crimes. You already have these red flag laws where they'll come in and they'll take guns away from people if they think they're a threat to people in the future, which is a lot like that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report. But what Joel Walsh is pushing is thought crimes. So I want guns for, he claims to be pro-Second Amendment, and he went on TV after being bought out so easily, and he admit they tricked him, because this guy's not a very smart guy, Joel Walsh. He's not a real thinking man. He just hits those talking points, and he just says whatever he thinks is in his benefit to say. So he thought he was going to get this award, Friends of Israel, which was a totally made-up thing. He was willing to go on TV and say absolutely insane things, saying that we should arm 4-year-olds. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Joel Walsh should be making any money personally? Do you think he deserves his high salary, what he got in Congress, or now what he's doing in the media? Personally, I don't think this guy's qualified to clean the toilets at a 7-Eleven. But go ahead, leave your thoughts and comments, and then you can check out my other videos. But most of all, guys, don't let any of this stuff get you down. Don't get divided, and don't get overly upset about you, because you're going to be upset about a lot of things that you can't actually change, and that's really going to hurt your life. So anytime I talk about some of these serious issues or these problems, it's not to get you guys down. Don't live in despair, and don't spend a lot of time focusing on the negative. But there is something to this in terms of making money if you can get in with the right people. And maybe you got to sell your soul like Joel Walsh, and I don't recommend that, but it certainly shows you how it's possible. A guy like this makes a lot of money, and he hasn't had to work hard. So, all right, guys, have a good day.